everyone, you are listening to Yeri in a special edition of Arcane Threads, interweaving philosophy, astrology, and ancient wisdom. Scorpio is the 8th sign of the zodiac, traditionally ruled by Mars, now co-ruled by Pluto. This water sign, symbolized by the scorpion, is the most maligned sign of all, and in this video I'm going to explore the reasons for this. Keep in mind that unless referring to specific individuals, I am primarily referring to Scorpio as an archetype in the collective and not describing the personality traits of everyone who is born under this sign. Carl Jung coined the term collective unconscious based on the belief that certain symbols and archetypes are understood from birth in all humans and lived out in various ways. He perceived this unconscious mind as shared between all humans, containing the universal experiences and patterns inherited from ancestors. What I am describing here are the various dark, repressed, and ominous archetypes associated with Scorpio in the collective and how these archetypes have influenced all of us on a number of levels. Scorpio represents all of the things that are considered to be the most taboo and fearsome in society, with a special emphasis on both sex and death. Situated between the signs of relationship-oriented Libra and freedom-seeking Sagittarius, Scorpio brings our attention to a very intense, typically difficult and painful situation in which we have no choice but to face head-on or to die on the spot. In addition to the scorpion with its stinging tail, one of Scorpio's symbols is the snake, which undergoes transformation when it sheds its skin. Scorpio's first decan falls under the influence of the serpens, the serpent constellation representing occult knowledge. The snake in general has come to be a feared animal, symbolizing poison and mortality. Ophiuchus, also known as the serpent bearer, contains the stellar image of a man holding the snake, and his symbolism is mentioned in the Bible in Job 26:13 and 14. His spirit hath garnished the heavens, and his hands hath formed a crooked serpent. Lo, these are the part of his ways, but how little a portion hear we of him, and who can understand his fearful power? This may hint at our collective inability to understand the nature of the serpent and of our own shadows, in addition to the deeper meaning of the scriptures. In Scorpio, we are dragged by the serpent, kicking and screaming, onto the battleground of the soul. The enemy that we must choose to fight or befriend are our very own inner demons. If we fail to become more aware of our inner darkness, shadows, and demons, they gain control over us. By shedding light on the forbidden parts of our psyche, including the forbidden parts of the collective unconscious, the greater chance we have of experiencing wholeness and of emptying ourselves of psychic baggage. Some of the negative actions and emotions associated with Scorpio are envy, hatred, manipulation, and projection. Some of the negative activities include blackmail, black magic, rape, murder, and suicide. Scorpio's notorious desire for power is based on an even deeper desire for revenge and for recovering a lost sense of self. Ironically, Scorpio is willing to sacrifice itself for the fulfillment of even just one moment of importance that symbolizes this attainment of power. In the collective, Scorpio exerts its influence over politics in the way of silent attacks, mass surveillance, and shadow government. This is the archetype that receives our collective blame and shame, and where we point to that which is outside of us with accusations of making our lives miserable. The less conscious we are of what is actually taking place, the more uncomfortable we become. We sense a widespread dread and discord, but cannot place it. As irritation and anger grows, the greater this hidden Leviathan becomes. Until we have solved its riddles, unveiled its gruesome features, we writhe and struggle within its invisible net, pushing and injuring each other, unconscious of the silent power that its aura exerts upon us. Its influence is much like the Eye of Sauron in Lord of the Rings. It oversees our struggles, seeking for those whom it can possess, just as in the original story, it sought for the one who would bear its ring of ultimate rulership. If we are tempted with power, wealth, and prestige in the game of life, we are watched very closely by a silent beast who awaits our exploitation. But as we come closer to the truth, this beast, symbolized by the dark archetype of Scorpio, watches us even more closely, for the beast knows that truth is more valuable than gold and riches. The truth is what sets us free from our treacherous journey through hell on earth, and the evil silent one refuses our passing from its torturous cycles. The purpose of its very existence is to keep us chained down to our suffering, to our longing, to our illusions, and to our fear. In order to survive, deriving its own sustenance from our pain, it must devise a method of keeping us distracted, locked up in a labyrinth, confused and guilty for all of the mistakes that we have made along the way. And so, in order to do this, it must resort to trickery, bribes, and facades. It must cloak itself as a child in costume for Halloween to appear as something entirely different. It could show up as a priest, philanthropist, or even a messiah. It operates by scrambling around pieces and parts of the truth that have been collected and infiltrating and distorting them as much as possible. It does this by seeking out as many souls as it can, those who can be bought, so that they will leave out important details and focus only on the obvious, or what they are paid to sell. Their so-called truth-telling campaigns become distractions, dictatorial monologues, or entertainment at best. It covers our collective trails so that no one can find their way through the thickets. It destroys the beautiful things that have been laboriously created over time, and revels in the carcasses of the dead and in corruption of the innocent. It hides our true history so that we are blind to the patterns that brought us our present circumstances. As the saying goes, history is written by the victors, and these victors are the minions of the beast. In turn, the future is scripted by those who wrote the history. It makes us wonder if we might be living in a simulation of some sort. This thought also begs the question, how much of anything that we see is our own projection? How much is due to someone or something pulling the strings behind the scenes? Will we each experience a moment like Dorothy did in The Wizard of Oz, where we catch the person who is creating the illusions? In the movie The Frame, one of the main characters finds herself in a situation where she realizes that her reality is being scripted, and she begins to realize some of her own influence in all of it, even though she still has no control over what is taking place.
Can I help you?
When we face our own inner demons, we also face the collective demon, known by many names, such as Satan, the demiurge, and archetypally in astrology as the Lord of Karma, known as Saturn. In the sign of Scorpio, this demonic force is felt as oppressive and extremely difficult to shake off, This is the sign in which we literally or figuratively meet our Maker, are brought to our knees, and must repent, even if only to ourselves, in order to be redeemed and reborn anew. There is another scene that describes this idea of living and suffering in a world that is not real quite well. In the movie Inception, Leonardo DiCaprio plays the role of a professional thief of the astral plane who is offered the chance to have his criminal history erased as payment for the implantation of another person's thoughts into a target's subconscious mind. Here he is talking about navigating the dreamscape.
Now in a dream, our mind continuously does this. We create and perceive our world simultaneously, and our mind does this so well that we don't even know what's happening. That allows us to get right in the middle of that process.
In the collective unconscious, the dark side of Scorpio is felt as a pervasive uneasiness and paranoia. It can carry a feeling of impending doom, such as that which seems to have escalated in recent times due to nefarious forces in the world. A lot of people who aren't even religious are talking now about the end times. Let's explore the natal chart of an influential Scorpio Sun native, Ted Turner, the founder of CNN News Network, who had something intriguing to say about all of this. In the Western tropical zodiac, Ted's sun is conjunct Venus, planet of money, in the 12th house of secrets. Clearly, he has been very successful in business. Although he doesn't necessarily take the main spotlight, he has contributed much to television networks. He made a mysterious statement before CNN debuted in 1980, and I quote, "We won't be signing off until the world ends. We'll be on, and we will cover the end of the world live, and that will be our last event. We'll play the national anthem only one time on the 1st of June, and when the end of the world comes, we'll play Nearer, My God, to Thee before we sign off." End of quote. In the movie V for Vendetta, a totalitarian regime is fought by a vigilante wearing a Guy Fawkes mask. There is something very scorpionic in the undercurrents of this film.
And now, 20 years later, is what? The world's biggest leper colony. Why? Godlessness. Let me say that again. Godlessness.
This line cuts deep in a scorpionic way.
No one escapes their past. No one escapes judgment. You think he's not up there?
Let's take a look at another prominent Scorpio Sun native, billionaire Larry Fink, who is the CEO of BlackRock, an American multinational investment management corporation. His sun is in the 4th house, opposite of Jupiter, a planet of wealth. He was born with Saturn conjunct Neptune, an intensely challenging pair that often deals with nebulous power dynamics. Currently, between 2025 and 2026, the collective is experiencing this aspect. Note his North Node in the 8th house of shared resources. Recently, in August of 2025, Larry Fink was appointed as the interim co-chairman of the World Economic Forum. He is a strong proponent for universal digital ID being linked to tokenized assets. Here's a short clip of him speaking in a recent CNBC interview.
I don't believe this is a bubble, but I believe this is capital that in most cases is going to be well spent. That being said, will there be one or two failures in that? Absolutely. And that is capitalism. We're going to have some big winners and we're going to have some big losers.
Okay, so let's take a look at one more well-known Scorpio Sun native before we move on to other fascinating facets of this zodiac sign. As successful and influential as he is, he's been the victim of pie throwing and a multitude of conspiracy theories for the past couple of decades. That is the one and only Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft and pioneer of the microcomputer revolution. His sun is in the 4th house, square Uranus, on the ascendant, a strong supporting evidence of his penchant for technology. As a philanthropist, this guy wants children everywhere to be multi-vaxxed and is very much in favor of microchipping and digital ID tracking. But enough about him. We know what Bill Gates is funding. Not too many people are asking the question as to who is funding Bill Gates and why. The scorpionic mind seeks and probes deeper for answers, evidence, anything that can be useful to a specific agenda, whether that agenda is noble or devious, helpful or harmful. In the movie The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, a woman whose husband was a sex offender seeks revenge on one of the victims, who is a woman with a family. She poses as a nanny and starts to manipulate the family members, causing this woman to think she's going crazy and is the dangerous one. This particular scene demonstrates a small portion of the dark and vengeful feminine aspect of Scorpio.
Ow! I got a message for you, Roth. Leave Emma alone. Look at me. If you don't, I'm gonna rip your fucking head off.
Ow! Hey, get it, man! Let it go!
Don't forget it.
Sometimes we don't know that we are being manipulated until it's too late and the damage has been done. Other times, we know that something is up, but we don't know the source. The moment when we become aware of the source, our inner and outer demons begin to scramble frantically. Isn't that what's happening now? Because so many people are exposing the identities of those who have been seeking for complete control over every aspect of life, but especially over finances. I am not at complete liberty to say who they are on this platform because there is more risk than ever for anyone to say these things. Thankfully, plenty of people are already doing this. Have any of you heard or seen of the pack of cards known as the Illuminati cards? This game was first released in 1982, and later a collective version called the New World Order was released in 1994. People have been talking about these for several years now, and it's very uncanny what just about each one of them reveal. They illustrate the entire lockstep agenda for world domination, and there's just not enough room or time here to explore them. I mention these though because the fact that they are accessible to us hints at the intention of the game. There is enough content to make us wonder, scratch our heads, as when seeing a scene out of the cartoon series The Simpsons come to fruition in real life. This is the result of predictive programming that has a deep hold on the collective unconscious. What is it exactly that makes us so susceptible to this programming? There is a trauma that runs so deep in the dark recesses of Scorpio that some believe are the fuel for its most evil manifestations, as well as the misfortune of attracting them. A scene from the movie Maleficent demonstrates this perfectly, when the young Maleficent is betrayed by her lover, who cut off her wings to gain favor with the king and be crowned himself. This was a heart-wrenching moment that changed Maleficent from that moment going forward. Another challenging expression of Scorpio that is often ignored, and that is its latent vulnerability. Because we tend to think of this sign as being fierce and penetrating, we either miss or forget the fact that emotions run deep here. Scorpio's archetypal energy lives somewhere in each of us, vigilant of potential dangers, hiding our pain from the rest of society. Scorpio loves deeply, and when they feel that love is somehow taken away from them, they find it incredibly difficult to move on, as though they've lost a limb. This scene from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with Jim Carrey demonstrates this type of vulnerability and how certain words, sentiments, and memories can be held onto for all time.
I ran back to the bonfire, trying to outrun my humiliation, I think.
Was it something I said?
Yeah. You said so go. With such disdain, you know?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Jolie?
What if you stayed this time?
Come back and make up a goodbye at least. Let's pretend we had one.
In my book, Psychic Self-Defense and the Zodiac, I described the darkest expressions of Scorpio that live in the collective as a hydra. In Greek mythology, this being is a monstrous, multi-headed serpent capable of regenerating 2 heads for every one that is cut off. Its blood and breath were extremely toxic, killing anyone who got too close. As long as these dark forces remain suppressed or hidden from view, they will continue to flourish and influence our collective experience in the forms of rewarded narcissism, world domination, brutal destruction, and spiritual hijacking. This is the type of domination that operates secretly, insidiously, and relentlessly, even if it leads to its own self-demise. As Neil Gaiman said, evil carries the seeds of its own destruction within it.